Come along with Barbie and I on part 2 of our Disney Dream Mediterranean cruise adventure. Today, our port stop is the beautiful town of Santorini, Greece, and we could not be more excited to be here. Outfit check for the volcano of Santorini and Santorini. The new Jolly Gear dress. Let's go. Today, we were headed on an excursion to hike the Santorini volcano and swim in the hot springs. After our tour experience in Mykonos, we were a little bit nervous about this one because we were just so excited about it and we wanted it to go well. But from the get-go, this was a completely different experience and our tour guide, Poppy, was phenomenal. I apologize because I'm going to butcher this name, but the volcano was called Nea Kameni, and it was a volcanic crater that's a short boat ride away from Santorini. The hike was about 2-ish miles long total. I do think that there is a loop hike, but we just did an out and back hike. And again, because we thru hiked the Appalachian Trail, we were so excited to be going on a little hiking adventure in frickin' Greece, which was absolutely gorgeous and amazing because at least where we are, we've never seen anything like this. We were both wearing hiking sandals. I was in my Chacos and Barbie was wearing his Tevas, and we did not have any issue with the terrain, but there were a few members of our group that seemed to struggle with the uphill and the loose rocks. I will say the view was absolutely worth every step up. As someone who's from the East Coast, we don't see views like this when we're hiking, and it was breathtaking. We are on top of the volcano in Santorini. We got to hike in Greece today. Oh my gosh, I love this. Look how beautiful. I will say that although it was beautiful, it was super hot, and I was very grateful for my new lightweight dress and my sandals so that my body could sweat freely and breathe. To prove to us that this was an active volcano, our tour guide told us to stick our hand down by this opening and to feel the heat coming out. And it was wild. It was kind of like the same effect that you get when you stick your hand near an open oven. Also, while the volcano was active, it was very safe to be hiking on it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be there. And I will note that we did book this tour through the Disney Port Adventures and our cruise line, though I do think that you can book similar tours through like Viator and other tour groups. I know that I took so much video of this adventure, but I just could not get over how stunning this is. And then it was time to hike back down the volcano to get back on our boat and head towards the last piece of our adventure.
On the left side, actually, of the church are the thermal springs. In the middle of the swimming path, you're gonna see a huge rock. From the rock and on, the water is...
I had never been in a real hot spring, much less a volcanic hot spring, so we were super excited for this experience. It was gonna be so cool. Don't worry, Barbie got to enjoy the hot springs too. I just really wanted a picture of us with the boat, and so he climbed back up before me so that we could get a picture and a little video of us. And then before we knew it, we were back to the main part of Santorini and we were taking the cable car up to the town. The cable car seemed a little bit more shaky than I usually like my cable cars, but we made it up to the top just fine. We were pretty hungry after our hike and swim, so once we got to the top, we immediately went and searched for food, and we found Philo's, which had some more delicious gyros. But I'm really not sure about the French fry thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I like them, but are they actually a thing, or are they just doing that for us Americans? And of course, it wouldn't be an afternoon in a new place if treats did not go find a treat. So immediately afterwards, I found a nearby bakery, and I got to try this very authentic Greek treat called mbugatsa. I tried really hard to pronounce that correctly, but I'm so sorry if I didn't. But anyways, this treat was so delicious and honestly one of my favorite treats that I had had the whole trip. It reminded me of like a flaky croissant pastry, but then with like a yummy, delicious cream on the inside. While I could have spent the entirety of my day eating my way through Santorini, we decided to go exploring and wandering the street. As we walked along, we spotted the volcano that we had been hiking at earlier. The views were spectacular, and I was even more excited when, as we were walking along, we came across the cutest little cliffside bookstore in Santorini. Now, most of the books were in Greek, so I wasn't sure what they were, but this bookstore was magical all the same. Usually I am very much a planner, so it was shocking that I didn't have a destination in mind, but we just chose to wander around Santorini and to experience it as it was. And by doing that, we came across some of the best little gems. Sachi was this really cool little bar that served its drinks and bags, and Barbie was very excited to try one. As we were walking, we came across some adorable shops that I had to pop in, and although they had some fun stuff, I will say that a lot of them seemed to have similar stuff, and I don't know if it was because we were in a more touristy part and not off the beaten path, but I had been hoping for some things that were a little bit more unique. After our shop wandering, we decided that we needed a little mid-afternoon pick-me-up, and we headed to the Gallini Cafe, which had this beautiful panoramic porch and view, and I enjoyed a matcha while Barbie enjoyed a green smoothie. And although the matcha was not quite as good here as it is in the US, the view was well worth the drink, and it was more about the moment than the drink anyways. We then decided that we were both pretty exhausted after such a full and wonderful day. Oh, we're passing the cute bookshop again. And we decided to meander our way back to the cable cars to head back down to the cruise ship. There were multiple routes to get down. One was the cable cars, and one was taking the path that the donkeys take. And Barbie spent the entire time walking over to the cable cars, convincing me to take the donkey path because he did not want to ride or wait in the line for the cable cars. All day we had heard countless stories about the donkey path and how it was steep and it wasn't necessarily safe and it was slick with poop, and there were even cast members at the top that were recommending not taking it. However, we were brave and we decided to take it. I absolutely loved seeing the cute donkeys. Hello, friends. Let's be nice to each other. Hi. You can actually ride the donkeys down, but I didn't particularly want to do that. It just didn't seem right for them to carry my butt. Although this path didn't seem too bad for us, I would not recommend it to anybody who has trouble walking or trouble with knees or just is not very good with their balance, because there were moments even in my nice hiking sandals that I slipped a little bit on the rocks, and I definitely wouldn't do this if it were wet. Anyways, if you're feeling brave and you don't mind the smell of donkey poop, then try taking the donkey stairs instead of the cable cars. And before we knew it, we were back on the ship and waving goodbye to a wonderful day in Santorini. We are back from our day in Santorini. It was absolutely amazing. I'm actually eating one of the treats that I got there. I only ate half of it earlier. Anyways, today in Santorini was absolutely amazing. I also still have sunscreen all over my face because it was another very hot day. Anyways, but Santorini was absolutely amazing. We went on the port adventure to the volcano, which was absolutely amazing. And then, so we went up the volcano in Santorini, and then we did the hot springs in Santorini. Okay, I was distracted by my treat, so I had to put it down, and I also had my phone in the wrong hand. But Santorini was amazing. We went to the volcano. We then went to the hot springs. Our tour guide, her name was Poppy. It was through Disney Port Excursions, but then they hire external companies. But she was phenomenal, and we loved everything we did today. After yesterday, we were a little bit nervous about our excursions and how they would go, but today was phenomenal. That's actually where we hiked. This is the volcano. You can see it from our room window, which is fantastic. So after that, we got back, dropped off back at the old port, and then we took the cable car up to the top to Fira. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, which is the main little town in Santorini, and we just wandered around there. We got some more gyros that were delicious. I got some treats. We wandered just all around. I mean, we love to just kind of walk. And so we ended up going to the bookstore where we walked like all along the edge of the little like path and got to look out into the sea the entire time. And then we tried to go get a picture at that iconic church with the blue tops. We couldn't really find like the spot where you take the iconic picture, but we got to see it, and that was really cool. And then we found this adorable little cafe where we got to sit outside and we just got to enjoy the view. I had matcha. I finally found matcha. It was not great, but we're in Greece, not Japan. But the vibes were immaculate, and we really enjoyed just sitting there and just enjoying the beautifulness of this place that we are in right now. After that, we kind of slowly meandered back towards the cable cars, and Barbie decided that he wanted to do the donkey trail. So if you don't want to take the cable car from the bottom of the caldera all the way up to Santorini, you can walk the trail that the donkeys use. So people usually ride the donkeys, and they also use the donkeys to transport goods up there. So it's kind of a steep path with steps and some slippery stones in there. And I was a little nervous because I'm clumsy. Even though I through hiked the AT, I was still like, people were fear-mongering this little path. But Barbie wanted to do it, and so we did it. And honestly, after through hiking, it was fine. I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. We did have our hiking sandals on. So if you're not wearing good shoes, there were some slick spots, but it was overall fine. And we got to see the donkeys, and they were so cute. So cute, in fact, that when we got to the bottom, I had to hit up a little souvenir shop so that I could get like a little keychain with a donkey on it. And then we took the boat back to our big boat. We took the tender boat back to our big boat, and now we are back on board, and we are hot and sweaty and tired, but it's pirate night tonight on the ship. So we're gonna go shower and get ready for that, but it's been a great day in Santorini. Tonight was pirate night, which basically just meant that everything was themed to pirates, which was super fun. And I had even planned a fun outfit to be a Megara pirate. If you don't know, Megara is from Hercules, and Hercules is one of my all-time favorite movies. And so I really wanted to do a take on a Megara pirate. Besides just everything being pirate themed, they brought out fun pirate themed characters. So Chip and Dale were in their pirate outfits, and Captain Hook and Shmee were out for pictures. And although I had told Barbie before we left about the themed nights, he still failed to pack an outfit, so we put together a last-minute one for him, and I think it turned out pretty good if I say so myself. Besides all the special characters, my other favorite thing about Pirate Night was the fun performances on the main deck. I won't tell you what happens because I don't want to give it away, but let's just say that all your favorite Disney friends are there to show you how to be a pirate and to save the day from the bad pirates. It was an absolutely amazing day in Santorini and an absolutely wonderful evening at Pirate Night that we had to finish off with a Mickey ice cream. The next morning started out early as we were spending our day in Hania, Greece. It's day 6 on our Disney Cruise Line adventure, and there's the sunrise, and we are in Hania this morning, and we're on the island of Crete. So today we're going on an adventure in Crete, and we're very excited, but oh, that sunrise, it's beautiful. I love seeing the sunrise in different places. So let's go adventuring in Crete. But before we start on our adventure, let's enjoy the sunrise for just a few more minutes. Hania outfit check. I'm an outfit repeater, so rocking the jolly gear again. Barbie looks real cute. Alright, off we go. Our port day in Hania was going to be our shortest port day yet, and although we were sad about that and there were some cool places that we wanted to explore while we were in Crete, we knew that we would enjoy the day and make the most of it no matter where it took us. The views of the mountains we were seeing from the tour bus were absolutely breathtaking. Our tour guide told us that these mountains were called the White Mountains, which I found somewhat ironic after Barbie and I thru hiked the AT last year, and the White Mountains were stunning, but also one of my least favorite sections because of how hard they were. Anyways, the White Mountains of Greece were beautiful, and they are now on my list, if you can hike them, to go hike and explore. So I have to admit, I don't remember much about this spot. It was called the Monastery of St. John the Theologian, but I honestly didn't retain much of the information that we were given. I think being that it was the last day that we were on adventures and that we had been to ruins almost every single day, my brain was just chock full of facts and it just wasn't going to fit anymore. I also will admit that this was our first tour that included kids. We had opted to do the adults only tours for every other thing that we did, and I can definitely say that it was more distracting with kiddos around because they just couldn't really focus, and that's okay. It's a Disney cruise. There are definitely going to be lots of kids, but I think for us, so that we can actually get the information that we want to, we will definitely opt for the adults only tours going forward. Okay, so the reason I zoomed in right here is that there are sheep running through a field, and I just thought that that was very cool and very Greece. So something that we didn't have time to do, but I had come across in my research when researching Hania, and also that we had been recommended by a friend, is that there is a national park in Crete called the Samaria Gorge, and it looks absolutely stunning, and I definitely have it on the top of my list for Barbie and I to come back and to hike and explore it, because how cool would it be to hike and explore a national park in Greece? We actually looked into taking a private tour there, but it would have been 12 hours and we only had about a 6-hour day that we had on this port day. Our next stop was my favorite of the day and one of my favorites of the trip. We were going to Lake Cornus. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. But before we headed down to the lake, we stopped at one of the little stores along the roadside and enjoyed some delicious ice cream. Lake Cornus was absolutely beautiful. This was definitely the spot where families came to enjoy a beautiful summer day and to cool off. The waters were crystal clear and the mountains in the background just made this all the more magical. We only had about an hour of scheduled time here, and I didn't think it was very much time, but Barbie really wanted to go on one of the paddle boats, and we wandered around for a little bit before we finally decided that we might as well enjoy some time on them than none at all. So we only ended up getting about 20 minutes on the paddle boat, but it ended up being my favorite part of the day, and I am so glad that Barbie convinced me. We're on a paddle boat. This is literally the prettiest place I think I've ever been on a paddle boat. Yay! So pretty. We only have like 10 minutes on it, but we're gonna make the most of it because it's so beautiful. Look at these views. Oh my gosh, even watching this video back, I am in awe of how beautiful this little lake in Greece is. This is definitely somewhere that I hope that one day we get to come back and just sit and enjoy all day. We eventually just kind of floated the paddle boat. I sat in it and Barbie went for a swim, and then we switched and he held down the paddle boat while I went for a swim. And I have to say, there is nothing quite as magical as taking a little quick swim in a random little lake in Greece. It was then time for our last stop of the day, which was an authentic Greek lunch. I honestly am not sure what this place was called. I'll try and list it below. But this meal was one of the best meals we had on the trip. The Greek salad that we had with the feta was chef's kiss. So good. I will forever dream about that feta. But besides the delicious food, this restaurant was also just honestly like the most random spot on this curvy Greek road, but also it was such a magical spot with all these little waterfalls. Before we knew it, we were back on the bus and we were headed back towards the ship, and our last port day was about to be over. I absolutely loved our day in Hania and the island of Crete, and I hope to be back again one day. We are back from our half day in Hania, and it was pretty good. I still think my favorite day was Santorini, but I think I really want to come back to Hania because I've heard that there's some really beautiful hikes around here, and the White Mountains that we got to see today were absolutely stunning. We only saw them from a distance. But today we went to some historic sites. We got to go to Lake Cornus Lake. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. And that was probably my favorite part of the day. It was absolutely beautiful. And then we got to go have an authentic Greek meal in, I think it was Agropoli. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. But anyways, it was a good day, but it was full of a lot of driving, and I always kind of like exploring a little bit more. But it was still a really good day. And we were back on the ship early because our port day was only until 2 today. So we were back on the ship early because we had to be, and we're gonna just go enjoy the rest of the day on the ship. But it was a great day in Hania, and I hope we get to come back sometime and go explore more of the town and more of Crete. And I hope I get to go to the Samaria Gorge one day, because I've heard from a lot of people that that's absolutely wonderful. So it was a great first half of the day, and now we're gonna and now we're gonna go enjoy the second half. Our day in Hania was short and sweet, and although we were sad to wave goodbye, we were going to make the best of the rest of our day on the ship. We mostly just lounged by the pool for the rest of the day, but once the evening came around, we went to another show because the shows were absolutely phenomenal, and this one was called The Award Goes To, and it was like a really fun take on older Disney movies and shows that they gave awards to and then performed a little bit of. After watching the show, I finally caved and decided I wanted a treat from Vanellope's. So Vanellope's is one of the places on the ship that is not included in your free-for-all dining. You have to actually pay extra for it. But I wanted a fun Mickey-shaped treat, so I got this fun icing cookie, and it matched my outfit. And of course, I had to take some little pictures with it. But it was super yummy. And then after some more Disney trivia, we had our dinner in the Royal Palace. This dining room was themed after all the Disney princesses and looked like a magical ballroom. After dinner, we got to watch the performance for Mickey's Color Spin Party, and it was so much fun to see all the dancers and all the characters in all their dancing glory. After such a big day, we were about to turn in for the night, but on the way back, we couldn't help but do some more of Mickey's detective agency. Barbie was having so much fun solving these little mysteries in the mysterious picture frames. And then it was the last morning of our cruise where we got to enjoy the iconic Mickey churro waffles. We're going on a Remy scavenger hunt. Before I get into the scavenger hunt, I want to say that the churro waffles are as amazing as people say they are. They are so good. Another little tidbit here is that you can see movies before they come out in theaters if you're on a cruise ship while they come out. Back to the scavenger hunt. This scavenger hunt was actually kind of difficult, and we struggled to find some of them. And the prize was just a recipe. I don't know why, but I wanted something Remy themed. And then we spent some time on the pool deck before Jack's diaper dash. I don't know who came up with Jack's Diaper Dash, but that event is absolutely hilarious that you are racing babies for a coveted prize. After the diaper dash, I went to more trivia and then more drawing courses before we went to Vanellope's because I had planned a cute little Disney bound with Vanellope, and I also wanted a sweet treat in her iconic go-kart because here at Vanellope's you can get an ice cream sundae in a little go-kart sundae holder thing. And yeah, I wanted one because I'm treats. Here is me donning my newest Jolly Gear shirt for my Vanellope Disney bound with my yummy ice cream sundae in Vanellope's little cookie go-kart. I mean, how cute is this? And yes, you get to keep the little go-kart container, and yes, I'm going to take it home and put plants in it. The ice cream was pretty yummy too. out a Vanellope go-kart. And I'm gonna take it home and put plants in it. And this is my attempt at a Vanellope Disney bound. And we think that is a volcano, but we don't really know. We spent the rest of the day just wandering around the boat, enjoying our last day at sea, and before we went to the performance that night, that was our final performance, and it was as amazing as the rest of them had been. And then for dinner that night, Barbie and I finally made it to Animator's Palette. We missed the first few because we were at Remy 2 nights in a row, and I thought it would be fun for Barbie and I to draw each other. I drew him in the blue, and he drew me in the red. And what happens with these drawings is that they bring them to life and animate them on the screen, which I'll show you in just a second. And I thought this was so cool. This was probably one of my favorite dining experiences that we had on the ship, just because of how cool it was that they animated our drawings and brought them to life. And now it was time to not only see our drawings, but everyone else who was dining with us and see their drawings come to life on the screen. You can absolutely hear Barbie giggling in the background as he excitedly waited for his horrific drawing of me to be animated. And there I was on the far left in the red, and there Barbie is on the far right in the blue.
Oh my gosh, look at that one-eyed one. I look so terrifying.
There I am again.
After the animations had danced around a little bit, they then put them with iconic Disney movie dances, and it was really cool to see these little drawings come to life in actual Disney movies too. And then, of course, they had all the guest animators listed on the screen. There's Barbie and I's names. And to end off our last evening, we got to wave goodbye to Captain Mickey and Captain Minnie.
It is day 7 on the Disney Dream, and today we are disembarking, and I'm very sad about it. Like, we're actually going to disembark in like 20 minutes. It's been such a good trip. Let me give you an update on yesterday, though. Yesterday was a day at sea, and we just hung out. We did a Remy scavenger hunt, which the scavenger hunt was actually kind of hard. The prize was kind of lame. We just got a recipe, which, yeah, I worked hard. But yeah, it was fun. And then we did some trivia in an animation class, and Barbie sat on the pool deck a lot and watched us go through the Messina Strait. Yeah, we hung out, we went to see the show, and then we had our final meal on the Disney Dream, and we saw the sail away party. And yeah, it's a bittersweet morning this morning. Like, we're gonna be in Rome for a few more days, but it's sad to leave the dream. This was such an amazing experience. Like, we absolutely loved it. I'll have to get Barbie to try and say it himself, but I asked him this morning, I was like, do you feel the Disney magic now? And I think he does. So even though Disney cruises are a bit more expensive, yeah, the magic is definitely here, and we had such a great time. And yeah, we're disembarking here in a few minutes, and while we're sad, we'll definitely probably be on one again in the future. But yeah, it's been a great experience here on the Disney Dream.
Waving our goodbyes to our stateroom on the Disney Dream. It's a bittersweet goodbye, and then we said one last wave and goodbye to the Dream as we disembarked from the ship. And then it was time to catch a ride and then a train back into Rome for the next little leg of our adventure. For this leg of our Rome adventure, we were staying in the Rome River Inn, which was a little bit closer to the Vatican side of Rome, because tomorrow we would be touring the Vatican. We hadn't really eaten breakfast that morning, so we found a little hole-in-the-wall cafe before we headed to the Pantheon. The architecture of this building was absolutely stunning. Once we got inside, the light coming through at different angles from the hole in the ceiling, the way that it hit from different angles of the sun was just pure artistry and mastery. And I honestly don't know how they did it, but it was just fascinating to see and witness. I love all the street artists and musicians here in Italy. And have I mentioned how much we loved going into the churches? They were just all so beautiful, and they were all just pieces of art themselves. And I was so grateful that we were able to walk in and explore them. We had heard so much over our various tours about how rare using the blue lapis lazuli was, and so it was fascinating that this entire ceiling was covered in it. Also in this church was the tomb of Saint Caterina da Siena, and she was the saint of Europe, Italy, fire prevention, and miscarriages. This church allowed you to give offerings to Saint Caterina, and it was very moving how many people were sitting and having a moment with her. The one thing I will say that I didn't like about our trip was how unbelievably hot it was. It was not normally this hot in Rome, so we were told, but this trip it was so hot, and so after our trip to some of the churches, I was just overheated, and so I was sitting on the ground in the shade while we waited to have lunch at this adorable little restaurant that was near the Colosseum. Because Rome was so walkable and we are former thru hikers, we of course walked to as many possible places as we could in Rome. And so we had walked from our hotel to the restaurant and stopped at all the churches along the way, and now we were headed to tour the Colosseum. Once we got through the ticket line, Barbie realized that he made a grave error, and he actually just got Roman Forum tickets instead of Roman Forum and the Colosseum, which is what he thought he got. And so we headed across the street to just go enjoy the Roman Forum, and we decided we would come back and do the Colosseum the next day. So this is your reminder to make sure that you get the correct tickets, that you get both and not just one or the other, and also to just be flexible. Yes, we wanted to see the Colosseum, but we were just like, we're here to enjoy the history, and the Roman Forum was fascinating, even though I wasn't feeling too great and we were out in the sun. So I will say that if you're going to the Roman Forum and it is as warm as it was for us, I would bring extra water, some stuff to cool down, and honestly, an umbrella to keep yourself in the shade. While I really loved visiting the Roman Forum, I will admit that I did not retain as much of the history as I wish I had. We had just been to so many beautiful sites, and my brain just could not retain it all, especially because I wasn't feeling too great, but I still wanted to enjoy as much as I could. So we mainly just enjoyed walking around and looking at the architecture. And then because I had gotten so overheated, we headed back to the hotel room to take a little mid-afternoon nap, but not before we stopped for some more beautiful churches along our way back. We did not fit in with the locals in Italy. We were always, because of how much walking we did, we were always hungry really early, which in Italy they always eat really late, but we were always eating at like 5 or 6 o'clock. But anyways, we still loved all the amazing food that we were getting to eat, and we loved all the outdoor seating that we could enjoy while we were in Italy. After enjoying a lovely meal, we went and wandered around Rome. We absolutely loved how walkable this city was, and we just loved enjoying everything that there was to see. We even stumbled upon this adorable little book bar, which I obviously couldn't read any of the books that were there, but the idea was so cute. Before calling it a night and walking back to our hotel, I really wanted to try the viral Mr. 100 tiramisu place where they make your tiramisu in front of you and there's 100 different flavors. I got the pistachio flavor, and I will tell you right now, it was absolutely not worth the hype. We did get to enjoy it with some live music in the square, but the tiramisu itself was not great. You can get better here in the US, so don't waste your time on that. And also, after we waited a really long time in line, they rushed us through the inside, and so for them the tiramisu to not be that good, well, yeah, I tried it for you. Treats does not recommend this treat, so go to a different place for tiramisu. Anyways, before we called it a night, we stopped in a little bookshop, and then we headed back to our little Rome hotel home.
It's our last full day in Rome, and we're headed to the Vatican this morning, and then later on to the Colosseum. So let's go make the most of our last day in Rome before we go catch our flight tomorrow.
As you can probably hear in my voice, I was not feeling 100% on our last day in Rome, but I was super excited to go to the Vatican, and I will say that our tour that we did, that was a skip the line tour, was the correct move because the line was so long for the non-skip the line people, and even when we left later in the day, there were people who were on tours who were waiting in this crazy line. So anyways, moral of the story is do a skip the line tour, and our tour guide for this was pretty good. Again, we had been to so many different things that we were starting to feel a little overwhelmed with information, but honestly, this was one of my favorite tours that we did the entire trip. Besides the fascinating architecture, I was blown away by the art in here, as was to be expected, but I honestly didn't think I would be as absolutely enamored and fascinated as I was. From the sculptures to the ceiling paintings, and especially the ceiling paintings, I was just absolutely taken away by how intricate they were and how much time they would have taken. I was also fascinated by this mosaic because all these little tiny tiles that would have taken forever and the effect that they have. I was absolutely blown away by the art, and I just couldn't stop looking up and craning my neck and trying to take every single little detail in. I will say, as beautiful as it was super crowded, which is to be expected. But sometimes, because you kind of had to move with the crowd and you couldn't just stand, it was hard to kind of savor the moment and really take in all of this amazing artwork and the detail and the effort that went into bringing this to life, and the effort that still goes into keeping this in such gorgeous shape. So although I didn't retain everything that our tour guide told us about, I do remember her telling us about this painting where Raphael painted Michelangelo in the painting, and he did this because there was a little bit of competitive, well, not really a little bit, but a lot of competitiveness between the two, and it really just grinded Michelangelo's gears that Raphael had painted him in this piece. But besides that little tidbit, I mean, the artwork was absolutely exquisite, and the detail that they had to go into to bring these to life. I feel like you don't see art that is as detailed as this anymore, or that is just so elaborate. I just feel like the detail.
Yeah. Especially these little rays like that.
Unfortunately, we were not able to video or photograph the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel itself, but it was absolutely exquisite. However, it was super duper crowded, and so that made it a little bit harder to really just soak in and really enjoy all the different details in that huge ceiling piece. But it was still magnificent, and afterwards we headed to try and see if we could get into St. Peter's Basilica. The line to see it was about as long as the line to get into the Vatican, and it was super hot and not in the shade at all. And so we opted just to enjoy the courtyard, but to not wait in the line to go inside. We'll have to save it for our next trip to Rome. And then, of course, because of being out in the heat and touring, we had to have a post-adventure snack with some delicious pizza before we continued to wander the city. And of course, because I'm treats, we couldn't go very far into the afternoon without me having an afternoon treat. And I was trying a new to me Italian dessert called Maritozzi. I think I pronounced it correctly. It wasn't my favorite, I have to be honest, but maybe I just didn't get the right one. So I'll have to try it again sometime. But after my little afternoon treat, we headed back to the Colosseum because we did get the correct tickets this time. And we were going to go explore this beautiful piece of architecture and Italian history. Obviously, I'm a bit of a Disney adult, so as we were walking around the Colosseum, I definitely was thinking of Lizzie McGuire's performance in here. But besides thinking of Lizzie McGuire while we were here, I also somewhat wished that we had gotten a tour for this, because although it was really cool to walk around and see everything, we had no idea what we were looking at. Also, this fence is what everyone had stuck their tour stickers on, which was kind of funny. After adventuring around the Colosseum, we meandered our way back and explored some cute bookshops, and I, of course, went for another pastry because we were leaving Italy soon, and I was trying to savor all the treats that I could. And then we very slowly meandered across town to our spot for dinner, and we really did take our time because we were just savoring this last afternoon and evening in Rome, because tomorrow we would be heading back home, and although it was going to be exciting to go home, we were going to miss Rome so much. And of course, along the way, we found some more absolutely beautiful churches to stop in, and we couldn't resist going to take a peek because they were all so different and so lovely. This one, I loved the ceiling and the depth that it had along with the paintings. Definitely on my list for the next time we come to Rome. If it's okay and we're allowed to, I really want to come to one of the services in one of these stunning churches, just because I think that it would be a very special experience. Plus, I would get to stare at these paintings for a good long while. And then we were enjoying our final meal in Rome at Mimi e Coco Trast. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but this was one of my favorite restaurants that we dined at during our trip. Everything from the limoncello to my eighth carbonara and the tiramisu was just absolutely phenomenal. Plus, we just really loved the vibes here. They were actually playing Italian pop music, which we just thought was really cool because a lot of other places we weren't hearing that. So it just felt like a really authentic experience, and we had a really good time. Also, we did not know that you were not supposed to drink limoncello like a shot, so I apologize for our American ignorance. But lastly, we really loved the wine here. I had not drinking any wine in Italy just because I don't usually drink, but on our last night, we had some Prosecco, and if I lived in Italy, I would drink wine more. Anyways, this whole experience at this restaurant was amazing, and the next time we're in Rome, we will definitely go back. It was the perfect way to end our final night in Rome and in Italy. Before we knew it, it was time to head out, and we were in the car headed to the airport where we would fly out of Rome and head back to North Carolina. It was a bit bittersweet. It was exciting to go home, but we were so sad to leave and put an end to this amazing journey. We will absolutely be back. We're already trying to plan our next international trip, and we can't wait to explore more and see more of what the world has to offer. It was an absolutely phenomenal Mediterranean adventure on the Disney Dream through Rome and through Greece. Until next time, this is Treats, signing off.